أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. اللهم صل على محمد. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن عليا ولي الله. أشهد أن عليا أمير المؤمنين وأبناءه المعصومين حجج الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. حي على خير العمل. حي على خير العمل. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. لا إله إلا الله. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله وسلم.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله خالق الخلق باسط الرزق فالق الإصباح ذي الجلال والإكرام والفضل والإنعام، الذي بعد فلا يرى وقرب فشهد النجوى تبارك وتعالى. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، إلها أحدا فردا صمدا حيا قيوما، لم يتخذ صاحبة ولا ولدا. وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله، أرسله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله ولو كره الكافرون. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد، وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد، وترحم على محمد وعلى آل محمد، وتحنن على محمد وعلى آل محمد، كما صليت وباركت وترحمت وتحننت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. عباد الله، أوصيكم ونفسي بتقوى الله ونظم أمركم وصلاح ذات البين، فإنها خير من عامة الصلاة والصيام. قال الله تعالى في كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم: يا أيتها النفس المطمئنة ارجعي إلى ربك راضية مرضية فادخلي في عبادي وادخلي جنتي. Respected brothers and sisters, we have begun the new Islamic year. With the 1st of Muharram, we began year 1445 after Hijrah. And some people, they ask this question: why is it that we do not celebrate and make a big deal out of the new year? Why is it that we begin the new year with a somber commemoration and the mourning of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam? First of all, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa did not celebrate the new year. This new year, this was something that was started after the Holy Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa. Yes, the Prophet migrated in the month of Rabi', and then the pre-Islamic times, Muharram was the first month of the year, so it began to be known as the beginning of the new year. However, we don't have anything where Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa or any of the Muslims celebrated the new year. However, why is it that we begin by commemorating the martyrdom of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam? And that is because the greatest tragedy, or one of the greatest tragedies after the martyrdom of Rasulullah, after the death of the Prophet that took place during the month of Muharram. A month that was respected and revered even in pre-Islamic times. Even in pre-Islamic times, the month of Muharram was considered to be a sacred month where the Jahiliyyah, the pagans, they would drop their swords and they would not fight during the month of Muharram. However, the Ummah, the Muslims, they killed the grandson of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa during the month of Muharram, on the 10th of Muharram. And this is the greatest tragedy that has taken place. The murder of Aba Abdullah al-Hussein, along with his family and along with his children and companions, all within a span of a couple of hours, Imam al-Hussein was killed. And this was no assassination attempt. This was not an army that comes and invades the Muslim land. No, it was a group of Muslims. It was during the day, in the middle of the day, Imam al-Hussein comes out and he delivers sermon after sermon after sermon, and eventually they killed him. Now, the question, is the martyrdom of Imam al-Hussein, is it a victory or is it a loss? When Yazid killed Imam al-Hussein, he said, that's it. There's no more obstacle in my way. He wanted to remain in power, and Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam was the only one that was in his way, and he removed him. He saw it that he was victorious. But the fact of the matter, my dear brothers and sisters, the greatest victory was attained by Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. And the fact and the reason for that is the fact that we are still commemorating Imam al-Hussein until today. Where do you find a figure in history that is commemorated and remembered and revered the way Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam is remembered and revered and commemorated? No one. There have been wars where millions and thousands of people have been killed, but no one is remembered the way Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam is remembered. And this is because Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam attained the greatest victory. And that is the victory of nearness to Allah, the victory of Shahada, and the victory of saving the religion of Islam after Bani Umayyah tried to destroy anything that is related to the religion of Islam. Now today, there are some people, they come and they say, Imam al-Hussein, he was going after power. He was going to topple Yazid and he wanted power and he ended up getting killed on the way. And the Shi'as, they're crying for him. No, this is not the case. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, from day one, he knew exactly what he was going into. And he knew exactly what was going to happen to him. He was very clear in his approach. He was very clear in his mission. And he knew that he is going to be attaining the greatest martyrdom. In fact, all the Muslims knew. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa had informed all of the Muslims. This is why when Imam al-Hussein was leaving, many of those people in his inner circle, some people who were close to him, they would come and they would advise him. They would come and they would tell him, don't go, because we know what's going to happen. We know exactly what's going to happen, don't go. But Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, in his eyes, victory was something else. For many people, victory was getting in power. But Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, for him, victory was defending the religion of Islam and defending Rasulullah and defending the Quran. This is why Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, he informed all of his companions. He informed them on the day he left Mecca. He stood in front of everyone and he delivered that sermon. خط الموت على ولد آدم مخط القلادة على جيد الفتاة. He began his sermon talking about death. Death has been inscribed on the children of Adam the same way the necklace of a girl leaves its mark and it makes a full circle around the neck. وما أولهني إلى أسلافي اشتياق يعقوب إلى يوسف وخير لي مصرع أنا لاقيه كأني بأوصالي تقطعها عسلان الفلوات بين النواويس وكربلاء. And he says, and I am missing my ancestors and my fathers. And the same way Yaqub was missing Yusuf alayhi salam, and I have been given the choice to take that difficult path, and it's as if I see that my body will be cut up into pieces. And he even tells them the location, بين النواويس وكربلاء. So my dear brothers and sisters, Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, he had the foresight and he saw his martyrdom as being victory. Why is it a sense of victory? Because Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, through his blood, saved the religion of Islam. Through his blood, he removed the legitimacy of any government, not only the government of Yazid, but any government that comes after and illegitimately comes and claims power. This is what Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam did. And this is why Imam al-Hussein tells his companions, he tells everyone, whoever will join me, they will attain shahada. They will attain shahada. أما بعد فإنه من لحق بي منكم استشهد. Whoever joins me, they will reach shahada. ومن تخلف لم يبلغ مبلغ الفتح. And whoever does not join me, they will not be a part of the fath, a part of the great conquest, a part of the great opening. What is he talking about? He's talking about what we're commemorating right now. Where today, individuals who are with Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, for thousands of years we say salam to them and we remember them and we cry for them. This is the victory of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. Of course, not many people saw what Imam al-Hussein did as a sign of victory. But Imam al-Hussein and his companions and his family members, those who were with him, they all saw everything very clearly. That's why they were rushing towards the martyrdom. They were rushing towards the shahada. They were rushing towards the defense of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. When Imam al-Hussein tells his companions on the eve of Ashura, tomorrow whoever is with me is going to be killed. And he tells them, go and take a member of my family and leave. Take this night, ride a camel this night and go, and no one will see you. They're after me. But those individuals, those staunch supporters of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, they stood with the Imam. And they did not let go of the Imam because they knew, they saw the reality of this life. They knew that this was the greatest victory, the greatest shahada. This is what Zainab alayhi salam saw. Zainab alayhi salam, in a hadith from Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam, he says on the 11th of Muharram, when we were taken, they told us, they gathered us all and they told us, let us go. We have to take you all as captives, as prisoners. And then they placed them all on the camels, the women and the children, and then they passed them next to the body of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. Imam Zain al-Abidin, he says, when I saw my father in that state, I began to cry and I could not control myself. I could not hold myself back from crying. Here, Zainab alayhi salam. Zainab, who grew up in the house of Rasulullah. Zainab, the daughter of Ali, the daughter of Fatima. She tells her nephew, Imam Zain al-Abidin, she tells him, Ya bunayya la yajuz anka ma tara. Oh my dear son, don't let what you see break you. Because this is a ahad, this is a covenant from Rasulullah to your father Amir al-Mu'mineen, to your uncle Al-Hasan, and to your father Hussein, that these bodies and these corpses that you see laying around on the ground, there will be mu'mineen that will come and they will bury them. And this site, the site of the battlefield, the site where your father's chest was crushed, this site is going to be a alam. This site is going to be a monument that represents Islam, a monument that represents the Quran, a monument that represents everything that the religion of Islam stands for. This is Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. This is why Zainab and those who were with Imam al-Hussein, Zainab, she stands in front of Yazid. She stands in front of Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad, the governor of Kufa, who sent out the army to kill Imam al-Hussein, and he tries to ridicule her. He tries to break her heart. He tells her, "Oh Zainab, what do you say with what God did to your brother and your family members?" She tells him, "Ma ra'aytu illa jamila." All I saw was beauty. هؤلاء قوم كتب الله عليهم القتل والقتال فبرزوا إلى مضاجعهم. What is more beautiful than when a group of people, they give everything that they have for the sake of their Lord, for the sake of their values, for the sake of their religion. And this is what Imam al-Hussein did. Imam al-Hussein, his stance was a stance against injustice, was a stance against oppression, and it was a stance against tyranny. And this is a lesson for us, my dear brothers and sisters. When we say salam to Imam al-Hussein, we say, أشهد أنك قد أقمت الصلاة وآتيت الزكاة وأمرت بالمعروف ونهيت عن المنكر. I bear witness that you upheld the truth. You stood for the values of salah. You stood for the values of zakat. You stood for the values of fasting. This is what Imam al-Hussein embodied on the day of Ashura. And on the other side, you have a camp of 30,000 people. Yes, they prayed on the day of Ashura. They prayed the Fajr prayer and they prayed the Dhuhr prayer, but they were killing the grandson of the Prophet in the middle of their prayers. They were killing in between those Fajr and the Dhuhr and Asr prayers. They killed the grandson of the Holy Prophet. What kind of a salah is this? And this is what should wake us all up. Today there are Muslims talking about Ashura and talking about Muharram, how it's a holy month, but you see that there's no mention of Imam al-Hussein whatsoever. There's no mention of the sacrifice that took place by Imam al-Hussein. There's no mention of what led to the martyrdom of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. How do we want to remove injustice from our society when we're not willing to address this topic? We're not willing to address this issue. This is why we start the new year. Yes, we start it by commemorating Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. We start it by crying for Imam al-Hussein. And there are many benefits that we receive. First of all, it's mustahab to carry out the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. And the Holy Prophet, he was the one who cried for Imam al-Hussein. He was the one who told the Muslims what will happen, and he cried for his grandson Imam al-Hussein. And when we cry for Imam al-Hussein, we are bringing ourselves closer to the principles and the values that Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam stood for. I will conclude here this first khutbah to move on to the next khutbah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله الذي يجيبني حين أناديه ويستر علي كل عورة وأنا أعصيه ويعظم النعمة علي فلا أجازيه. نحمده ونسبحه ونقدسه على آلائه ونعمائه. من يهد الله فهو المهتدي ومن يضلل فلا هادي له من بعده. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له. وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد وترحم على محمد وعلى آل محمد وتحنن على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت وباركت وترحمت وتحننت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. وصل اللهم على جميع الأنبياء والمرسلين والشهداء والصديقين وعباد الله الصالحين. وصل اللهم على علي أمير المؤمنين وقائد الغر المحجلين إلى جنات النعيم. وصل اللهم على الصديقة الطاهرة فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين. وصل اللهم على سبطي الرحمة وإمامي الهدى الحسن والحسين سيدي شباب أهل الجنة. وصل اللهم على علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والحجة الخلف الهادي المهدي عجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف وجعلنا من أنصاره وأعوانه والمستشهدين بين يديه. Respected brothers and sisters, we are commemorating the martyrdom of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam these 10 days. And next Friday will be the 10th of Muharram, the day where we commemorate the actual day of the martyrdom of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. Now, we have to, anytime we remember events in history, we have to bring these events and relate them to our times and our challenges today. Otherwise, it would not bring us much benefit if we are just remembering a historical event that does not change my life, that does not have an impact on my life. The Quran gives us historical stories. Is the Quran a book of stories? Of course not. The Quran talks about Musa and talks about Ibrahim and talks about Namrud and talks about Fir'aun and talks about several of these stories. Why does the Quran address these stories? The Quran addresses these stories because we have to take valuable lessons. These stories have to have an impact on our lives. If these stories do not have an impact on our lives, then the Quran would become a storybook. And the Quran is not a storybook. The Quran is a book of morals and lessons and values. And similarly, when we commemorate the martyrdom of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, we have to relate it to our current challenges that we are facing. If we don't, then we are just wasting our time. My dear brothers and sisters, Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, his stance was not just on the day of Ashura. His stance is eternal, a stance against injustice, a stance against all oppression, all corruption, anything that is against the faith and the religion. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam teaches us that we must make a stand, even if we are the only one standing. Imam al-Hussein was the only one standing. He kept calling out, "Ala hal min nasirin yansurani," and everyone was ignoring him. Everyone was busy doing their own thing. And these challenges, the challenges of Ashura, the challenges that Imam al-Hussein faced are repeating themselves once again today. Today, we are also dealing with challenges. Today, isn't there still oppression in the world? Now I need to make the decision. Am I on the side of Imam al-Hussein, or am I on the side of the enemies of Imam al-Hussein? There are some individuals that were careless. There were some individuals that didn't do anything about it on the day of Ashura. They let Imam al-Hussein go, and they saw that Imam al-Hussein was killed, and they didn't care. But then there was a few that actually stood with Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. Today, if I want to be a sincere and loyal follower of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, I have to stand against all injustice, all oppression, wherever it may be. If I see Muslims being oppressed, if I see non-Muslims being oppressed, if I see tyranny in the world, I have to take a stance. I can't cry for Imam al-Hussein in the majlis, and then I go and I'm quiet and I don't care about the suffering of others. Imam al-Hussein teaches us to stand against all suffering, to stand against all abuse and all corruption. Imam al-Hussein teaches us to defend the Quran. Today, once again, the Quran is being desecrated. Once again, yesterday, the Quran was being desecrated in Sweden, a week or 10 days after it was already 10 days ago. What does this mean? This means that the Quran is still being attacked. This means that there's still an ideology that represents the ideology of Yazid, an ideology that represents the ideology of Bani Umayyah. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, he's not just a story that we remember and we go home and that's it. No, Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam teaches me to take a stance in my life. This is why one great scholar, a lot of people, they confuse the statement with a hadith of the Imam. كُلُّ يَوْمٍ عَاشُرَا وَكُلُّ أَرْضٍ كَرْبَلَا. This is not from the Imam. This was a statement said by Shari'ati. He said, every day is Ashura and every land is Karbala. What does this mean? Although this is not a hadith from the Imam, but it has a very big meaning. It means that every day you have the struggles and the challenges that Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam stood against. Every day. Whether you're at work, you go to school, you're in your home, outside the home, wherever you may be, you find struggles and you have to make the decision. You have to make the decision. Every day we make choices in life. And it all depends on what choice you make. On the day of Ashura, Imam al-Hussein and several of his companions, they made one choice that made them eternalized. That made their memory eternalized and everlasting. And everyone remembers Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. And then you also have a group of people that went after the dunya, the distractions of the dunya. Maybe if you ask those same people that killed Imam al-Hussein, you ask them a year before, or maybe some people who were in the army that killed Imam al-Hussein, they did not even kill an arrow, they didn't do anything. They were just watching. You have 30,000 people at least. A lot of them were not doing anything. They were just standing there watching Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam being killed. This is why in the ziyarah, we say, وَلَعَنَ اللَّهُ أُمَّةً تَنَكَّرَتْ. There were some people, they just had their faces covered, and they were just sitting and watching Imam al-Hussein. This is why Imam al-Hussein kept calling out, هَلْ مِن نَاصِرٍ يَنْصُرُنَا. Is there anyone that will come and help us? A couple of people, a handful of people. Al-Hur, and according to narrations, several people with him, they switched sides and they joined. Some people left the army of Bani Umayyah, and others, they were watching. Why? Because they wanted the reward from the Amir. They wanted the worldly reward, while they forgot the reward of the Akhirah. They forgot the punishment of the afterlife. And for someone who makes that horrible transaction, they lose this dunya and they lose the Akhirah. Imam al-Hussein told them, on the day of Ashura, he told Umar ibn Sa'd. Umar ibn Sa'd, he wanted to receive the rule, the governorship of Ray. He tells him, you're not going to receive it. And it's as if, I am telling you, it's as if the kids of Kufa are going to be playing with your head. And this is exactly what happened. And Umar ibn Sa'd knew exactly that this is going to happen. This is why when Imam al-Hussein told him, he turned his face and he was unhappy. Because he knew that this is the truth. This is the truth. My dear brothers and sisters, we learn from Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam to stand against injustice, to stand against oppression, to always defend the oppressed, and always defend the values. It teaches you, the fact that we are gathering here these 10 nights and we are commemorating Imam al-Hussein shows us that if you stand with the truth will keep you eternalized. And if you stand with falsehood, the falsehood will die and your name and your memory will also die. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless you all. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us from the loyal and sincere followers of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. We ask Allah to make us from those who follow Imam al-Hussein not just in words, but in action. This is what's important. In action. We have to have our actions follow the way of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. When we do so, then we will be from those who are supporters of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. Imam al-Rida alayhi salam, he tells one of his companions, he tells him, if you want to be from those who are the supporters of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, if you want to receive the reward of those who support Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, when you remember Imam al-Hussein, say, Ya laytani kuntu ma'ahu fa'afuza fawzan azima. I wish I was with him. Put yourself in that position. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you the reward for the niyyah, for the intention that you have. Align yourself with the values and principles of Imam al-Hussein. نسألك اللهم وندعوك باسمك العظيم الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم يا الله يا الله يا رحمن يا رحيم يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات تابع اللهم بيننا وبينهم بالخيرات إنك مجيب الدعوات إنك غافر الخطيئات إنك على كل شيء قدير. وإلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات نهدي ثواب